Welcome students. So, in the previous class we started talking about the cost sheet, which is one important tool in the management accounting which facilitates the management decision making. As I told you that management accounting itself is not at all a discipline, it has borrowed different techniques from the cost accounting and the financial accounting, and how that information has to be converted into a meaningful information so that management decision making or the managerial decision making can be facilitated, that we do in the management accounting. This discipline has been developed after 1950 only just to facilitate the management decision making, because cost accounting only generates some relevant information. Financial accounting generates the relevant information, but that information is not itself is sufficient to say automatically take us to the decision. Decision making depends upon how we make use of that information, how that information becomes useful for us, how it is relevant for us. So, in the previous class I emphasized upon that there are the different tools and techniques where we can say use them for important decision making or for the different managerial decisions or say decisions to be taken by the say management of the different firms, different business organizations, and we discussed that cost sheet is a one such statement which is normally prepared under the cost accounting, but the information provided by the cost sheet can be used by the managers for taking the strategic decisions, very useful decisions, right. So, we discussed the structure of the cost sheet, that how the cost sheet can be prepared, what it includes and what different type of the sub costs it works out, because we have to find out the total cost of the product. And in this competitive world, our cost has to be as low as possible. I was talking to you in the previous class also the same thing, that our cost has to be as low as possible, because if you want to compete in this world, because there is no shortage of the goods and services now, we live in a globalized world. We live in a globalized world, there is no shortage, supply side has improved like anything. It was the olden time, for example, in India 1991 and before. Before globalization of Indian economy, there was the shortage of the supply, or the supply side in certain sectors was weak, because most of the sectors were reserved for the public sector. So, one or two units in the public sectors were serving the customers' need of this country or the entire say customers' need of this country. So, there might be the shortage of the goods and services, and whatever those producers and those firms owned by the government were manufacturing and selling in the market, they were say successful in selling that product in the market, but today is not the scenario like that. Now, for example, we talk about before 1991 or even little late till mid 90s, you talk about the steel sector. In India, the steel sector was dominated by one company which was having more than 90% of the share in the steel sector, and that was a publicly held company, or maybe you can call it as a government company, say a SAIL, Steel Authority of India Limited. Steel Authority of India Limited was providing the steel, or was responsible for manufacturing and say providing or fulfilling the steel related requirement of the people of this country. Only one company, huge country, say around 1 billion people, huge country, large country, and only one company is fulfilling the needs, which is very important product, steel, and only one company is manufacturing. There is no competition. So, when there is no competition, whatever the garbage you manufacture, at whatever the price you want to sell that product in the market, people are bound to buy that product from that company. But after the globalization, when the steel sector was opened for the private sector participation, you see that SAIL has lost its significant market, and I can say that half of the market of the SAIL has been lost because of the poor quality of the product and very high cost of the product. Now, when the private sector players, for example, the western market, in the western part of the country we have two companies, SR and the Lloyd Steel, they are manufacturing a good quality steel and selling it at a very competitive price to the people. So, it means why the people would depend upon SAIL or buy the product manufactured by SAIL. Similarly, in the southern region, Jindal Vijayanagar Steel Plant, which is now known as JSW, Jindal Steel Works, Asia's first high-tech steel plant. When that was established after 1991, when the steel sector was opened up for the private sector participation, now the SAIL also lost almost the southern market also. So, SAIL is reduced now to the half of the market where they can sell their product in the central India, in the northern India or in the eastern India. And these private sector players, these private sector companies are not limiting this market only up to the western part of the country or the southern part of the country. They are coming to the central India also, they are selling their product in the northern markets also, they are selling their product in the eastern markets also. So, finding it very difficult to compete with these very efficient players in the market. And apart from many factors, one important factor where the SAIL has failed to compete with the private sector players is the cost. Because cost of production, keeping the cost of production under control is very, very important. If you are not able to control the cost of production, in that case you are out of the market, because profit in today's economy or in today's market depends upon the cost. You cannot increase the selling price, you cannot increase the selling price. If you want to maximize your profits, you have to reduce the cost, and for reducing the cost you should know how to cost the product at the minimum possible cost, how to keep the cost under control. Similarly, you talk about now the heavy industries or maybe in the electrical sector, turbines sector, say for example when it was reserved for the public sector, BHEL was the one company which was serving the entire market of this country. Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, who are into the manufacturing of the hydro turbines, they for say generation of the power. So, power equipments they were only manufacturing and selling in the market. After liberalization, many players have come up in the market. Kirloskar is the one, General Electrical is the one, many private sector companies have come up in the field. So, BHEL has now started facing the competition, and recently it has become a loss making company from the profit making company. So, why it has happened? Because BHEL also was not able to control the cost. And if you are not able to control the cost and somebody else comes up and offers the customers a product which is better in the quality and say very competitive in the cost, why shouldn't the customer say shift their loyalties from the existing companies to the new company? So, cost is such an important component, especially in the manufacturing sector, even in the services sector also. For example, you talk about the services sector. Now, in the mobile telephony, when we had only say companies like Airtel, Vodafone, BSNL, we have not seen the competition say given in the market or say coming up in the market from the say very efficient player like Reliance Jio. When the Reliance Jio product came in the market, these companies were bound to think about that how to sustain in the market, because whatever the service they were giving in the market and whatever the price they were charging in the market from the customers, that was nowhere at all, means you can say competitive. Means when Reliance Jio came in the market, it brought a revolution in the market. Today you find that say the data rates have come down, your talk time has become very, very cheap and very, very affordable. Everybody is say holding a phone, and most of the people are using the product and the services of Reliance Jio. So, these companies, existing players have started feeling the heat of the market, because customers have started shifting their base from the existing say service provider to the new service provider, and one single company has forced the multinational company like Vodafone and Idea have entered into a joint venture now, that they have started feeling that it is very difficult to sustain in the market on the basis of their say their own single individual say identity in the market, or as a say a single entity in the market and competing with each other. It will be very difficult, because they won't be able to compete with the Reliance. BSNL itself has started feeling the heat, and most of the people are not happy with the BSNL. So, it means it depends upon who is the service provider, what is the quality of the service, and what price the service provider is charging for providing the service. And ultimately, pricing of the product or a service to a larger extent or to the maximum possible extent depends upon the cost. How you are costing your product, because if you increase the price in today's competitive market, then people will become your former customers, they will stop buying your product. Second important thing is, means one is the competition which has forced the companies to think about the cost and reduce it. Second important thing is, people are price sensitive, and this economy is highly price sensitive. People have the limited incomes, we do not have the unlimited income, so we always look for the quality. If some service provider or maybe some manufacturer serves this market or comes out with a product in the market which is say lesser in the price or very competitive in the price, but not very competitive in the say quality. Even then sometimes people accept it because they know the price they are paying and the quality they are getting for that product is really say comparable, and people are very happy because we have the limited income, we are highly price sensitive people. So, any reduction in the price we positively receive that, react to that say price reduction, and we try to say maximize the benefits we are deriving from the limited income we have in our hands. So, for any person, any company, any organization, whether they are in the manufacturing sector or whether they are in the services sector, if they want to sustain and exist in the market, they will have to reduce the cost. So, how to reduce the cost? In the previous class we discussed about the concept of the cost sheet, we learned about even how to prepare the cost sheet, right. So, how to prepare the cost sheet, that is the important component, and what purpose the cost sheet serves. What purpose the cost sheet serves? Cost sheet, as I told you, serves basically the purpose of dividing the total cost into the different sub costs. We have seen already that the total cost is arrived at after calculating the different sub costs and then summing up these sub costs, 4 or 5 sub costs, we arrive at the final total cost. So, if at any point of time the cost is going out of control, right, if the cost is going out of control, we can easily find out that which part of the total cost is creating a problem for us and how to control it and where we should focus upon, so that the total cost of the product remains under control. And second thing, important thing is that we will have to focus upon that which component of the cost should be taken care of, so that by minimizing even 5 to 10% cost of that particular component of the total cost, your the total cost significantly comes down. So, we have seen that for arriving at the total cost, by preparing a statement of the cost, we first of all calculate the prime cost, then we calculate the factory cost, then we calculate the cost of production, and then we calculate the cost of sales, and finally the total cost, means the cost of sales is the total cost. And since we know the selling price in the market and the number of units, we are multiplying with the selling price, which means the number of units which we are going to manufacture, multiplying with the price, we get the total sales value. Total sales minus total cost gives us the figure of operating profit. So, it means though we have learned about how to prepare the cost sheet, it is not the subject of the say management accounting, it is the say part of the cost accounting. Under the cost accounting we learn how to prepare the cost sheet, but how to make use of that relevant information, how to control the cost, how to use it as a tool for the say planning of the cost, right, tool as a for the planning of the cost, execution of the cost and controlling of the cost. We have to look at that from the different angles, from a very critical angle, from a very strategic angle, and then try to find out the ways and means that how to keep the cost under control, right. So, structure is discussed in the previous class. Now, I have brought some very simple problems. We will discuss 1 or 2 very simple problems, then we will discuss some complex problems also, that how to prepare the cost sheet and whatever the information is generated with the help of the cost sheet, how to analyze it, draw the meaningful inferences out of it, and how to use it as a tool for the overall cost control. How to use it as a tool for the overall cost control, because preparation of the cost sheet is one thing, preparation of the cost sheet is one thing, using the information given in the cost sheet is the other thing. So, you can prepare it. The preparation of the cost sheet is also not a very easy process, it is a difficult process, it is a difficult phenomena, and I told you that number 1, it is the most confidential document, it is not shared with anybody, any outsider, that is one. Second thing is, the cost sheet is generally prepared by the people who are called as experts in that area, because calculating, you talk about the industries, like we are not talking about a simple say industry manufacturing furniture, so you are manufacturing say bigger items, so you can easily find out how much wooden material is required, how much steel is required, how much say other say sub materials are required, nails are required, screws are required. That is not we are going to, that is a very simple job, that is a very easy job, we can do it, right. How much labor cost would be there say for manufacturing a chair, how much time one or two laborers take, and what is the machine cost and what is the depreciation and other things that can easily be calculated, found out. But talk about the industries like chemical industry. For manufacturing one finished product, you use hundreds of the sub products, and what sometimes we use the material in the milligrams. So, how many milligrams of the material has to be used for manufacturing the one unit of the say finished product? That is really very complex job, very typical job. And if you, and sometimes materials are so expensive that if you waste even iota of that material, little part of that material, that costs us a very big loss to the firm. So, we will have to, while analyzing the cost, first we have to prepare the cost sheet, and preparing the cost sheet in such industries where you talk about the say pharmaceuticals, you talk about the chemicals, you talk about say the petrochemicals, even in these areas is very difficult when you use sometime very expensive material, and then you have to prepare the dummy cost sheet, knowing it about that manufacturing the one final drug, how much material, different type of the inputs are required, what is their cost today and what is expected to be there in the next 1 year, from where to fetch that material and how to store that material. Overall cost calculation is a very typical process. And once we develop that cost sheet, we keep it with us as a confidential document. That is basically the you can call it as a statement which helps us, guides us how to keep the cost of your product under control. Because if we develop a cost sheet and our competitors come to know about that, oh, this is the way that how to calculate the cost of the product and how to say add different sub components or sub materials for converting the one unit of the finished product, then everybody can easily do it. And if some firm is selling one drug for say 2 rupees, other is say selling it for 3 rupees. So, the firm which is selling for 3 rupees would be able to know it how to sell it for 2 rupees. Right. So, without spending any time, any money, any resource, they can easily get the information, strategic information from their competitors. So, it means everybody would start selling it for 2 rupees because they know it, how to use the material, where to save the material, how to judiciously allocate the material and keep the overall cost under control. So, that will be a very easy job. So, that is not shared with anybody, it is a very confidential document and people generally do not get it. Sometimes the competitors use the spies who are sent to the best firms in the market as their employees, and they start working there for some period of time, take say the possession of the cost sheet, leave the job, come back to their older organization and help their older firms. That may be possible sometimes, but it is otherwise a very confidential document. So, total cost if you jump at simply by adding up the cost of the material, labor and the other overheads, then you will not be able to find out how to control it. And our purpose in this subject is to learn about the planning, execution and the control of the say manufacturing process, distribution process, selling process and after sales service process. So, right from the say idea conception till the after sales service of the product in the market, we have to be very cost effective, very careful and very particular to keep the cost under control. Many companies have failed in the market because they could not control the cost of their product, right. Now, for example, I will take you back so maybe some 15-20 years back, when we were not a globalized economy, or even when we announced the globalization in 1991. Even after that, for the next 5-6 years, the effects of the globalization were not seen. A real effect of the globalization we started seeing after 2000 onwards. So, before this globalization and some years even after globalization, if you talk about the different industries, I will take the example of the electronics industry. In the electronics industry, for example, manufacturing of the color TVs, we had number of players manufacturing color TVs in the market and serving the people's requirement. And at that time, if you name the companies, there were many companies like say Dynora, Solora, Texla, then you can call it as Beston, then we have other companies, but the players and the leaders at that time were the two companies. One was Videocon Electronics and second was Onada, right. These two companies were having almost 45% of the total market, means the total market share, joint market share clubbed together market share of these two companies was near about 50%. 50% of the market was with these two companies, and the other companies were having the remaining 50% market of India. So, you can understand the market of India, how large and big this country is. And these two companies were considered as the leaders. So, at that time the reason was that the quality of their product was considered as very good, excellent. Whatever the different range of the products were there in the market, CTVs were there in the market, the products or the CTVs of the Videocon and the Oneida were considered as the best, because we had not seen the color TV by Samsung, LG, Sony. These players had entered India after 1991, but their product took some time to come to the people or reach up to the people. So, our needs were being served by these companies in the electronic sector. And later on, when the multinationals came up and when we saw their product, the quality of their product and the price which they started charging for the product, we came to know that these existing Indian firms were exploiting the customers in the electronic industry. Whatever the product they were providing to us and the price they were charging, they were really looting the people. And at that time, see, there was no competition from outside. Whatever the production and distribution and the sales were, that was only from the Indian players, Indian manufacturers. So, somebody was good in the quality, somebody was not good in the quality, but the difference was not very significant. Second thing is, the difference in the price was also not very significant, because nobody cared for the cost control. Nobody thought of, say, learning about that how to go for the cost control, and if, say, the situation, they never even bothered about that. If the situation comes that if some best player in the world market comes up to India, or they are allowed to come to India and they are allowed to do the business in the Indian market or serve the, say, Indian customers with their best electronic products, then how would we compete with them or face the competition put forward by them? And that happened later on when this globalization was accepted in India. Then you see all these big giants, multinational companies, two from Korea, that is Samsung and LG, one from Japan, Sony. These three companies entered India, came to India, started serving the, say, electronics market or the electronics customers in India, and today you see that none of the Indian companies are in existence now. Videocon and Oneida, who were the leaders in the market at that time, having almost 50%, half of the market in their hands, they are nowhere in existence. Maximum is they are striving hard to sustain in the market, having 1 to 2% market share. So, their market share has fallen from 50% almost to the 1% or 1.5%. It means why they have gone out of the market. They have lost the market, and we have to think it seriously why people have rejected them. One important reason was that the product they were say serving the, say, market with, and the cost or the price they were charging, I will not say cost, because finally customer pays the price, not the cost. As a student of this subject, you have to very carefully distinguish between the difference between the, say, the price and the cost. Cost is basically the one which is a sum total of the resources which we have sacrificed to get some finished product or service, and in the cost, when we add up the profit part or the margin part, then finally what we get is, that is the price. So, we are talking about the price here, and the basis of developing a competitive price is the cost. If you do not have the cost, you can't say develop the price. So, cost plus margin, profit margin of the service provider or the manufacturer is the total price. So, it means the price being charged at that time by these electronics companies and the product which they were serving the Indian market, that was really a crap. And when we saw the products from these three multinational companies, we really literally rejected the Indian companies, and now they are nowhere in existence. They are making last, means other companies are gone out of the fray, but these two companies, Videocon and Oneida, they are making their last ditch effort, and I do not see that there is a future for them. Means in the time to come they will have to go out of the market. So, it means the success or failure depends upon that if you are careful and well within the time, if you know it, that today you are, say, operating or floating in the four walls of a country, but if somebody invades into your country and gives you a competition or challenges you, and if they come forward with a new product, better service, and if they start serving the or offering the customers the better product, certainly your existing customers will become the former customers, because they have the reason to buy the best, they have the reason and the right also. It is a customer's right also to buy the best product. If you cannot serve their needs with the best product, you do not have the right to be in the business. So, it has happened almost in every say sector in India. I told you the story of steel, I told you the story of say this hydroelectric equipments, I told you the story of the electronics market, and now you think about in the say services sector, the say mobile telephony. There was a time that BSNL or the erstwhile DOT, Department of Telecommunication, was the one service provider in this country, only one service provider in this country. But after the opening up of the telecom sector for the private sector participation, today see where the BSNL is. It is a loss making company, I would say, and even if it is a profit making company, even then they have no place or existence or sustenance in the mobile telephony. Mobile telephony is fully captured by the private sector players, who give the better service to the people and at a very competitive price. And after the influx of Jio, the Reliance Jio in the market, we have seen there is a revolution in the market, and the BSNL is almost out of the fray. They only have their existence and sustenance because of the landline telephones. But if you talk about the mobile telephones, look at the service quality, look at the cost, the price they are charging from the people, and the after sale service, this is all very poor, and people do not want to continue with them. So, it happens in every market, and if you are to be there in the market and want to remain competitive, you have to think about the customers. Every time you have to give the customers a very innovative product, very cost effective product, and especially in the economies which are price sensitive economies like India, all developing world economies, all emerging economies are the price sensitive economies. Income level of the people in this economy is very or in these economies is very low. A little reduction in the price, maybe along with the quality, people welcome it, and they want to have a product which is very competitive in the price, lesser in the price in terms of the price, and if that product is available in the market, people want to go for that. I will take you to the another I will share another story with you. There is a product called as Nirma. In the washing powder segment, we have one product called as Nirma, and Nirma came into the market in 1982, and today Nirma has become an international company, and Nirma has its existence in many sectors, that is into the cosmetics, detergents, then it is in the consumer sector, and then now they are into in a big way they are into the education also. One single person means Karsan Bhai, who had an idea of manufacturing the washing powder in 1982, because in 1982 HUL, Hindustan Unilever Limited, used to call this company as Hindustan Lever Limited at that time, was having the largest market share in the detergents market. They had two products to serve the customers' needs as far as the detergents were concerned. For the premium segment people, they had a product called as Surf, which we today use again, and for the lower segment people, for the people who had the limited income, they had a product which was called as Sunlight, right. But both the products at that time were beyond the reach of the masses in this country, because the price they were charging for the product, though they were the good quality products, but the price at that time they were charging, people were not able to afford to buy these products and make use of these products. So, most of the people in the rural areas, in the villages, were using the caustic soda to wash the clothes. It is a very harsh product, it reduces the life of the product, quality of the product, but since there was no alternative available in the market, and the product of the HUL or the HLL was really not within the reach of the people as far as the price was concerned, so they were bound to use the caustic soda. Then Karsan Bhai understood this need of the people of India. He started developing this product, and he was successful in developing a very cost effective and efficient product, and for the first time when he manufactured this product, Nirma washing powder, he started distributing it to his friends and relatives nearby. The results were very good, and then he started giving to his neighbors and people in his office and nearby streets and here and there. Initially he did it as a free of cost product. Like Geo, the strategy of the Geo was adopted by the single individual Curzon Bhai, and everybody said that the results are very good, the product is very good, it's very, say you can call it as excellent product. And once he was encouraged by these results, he started manufacturing it at the bigger level and started selling it. So at that time he fixed the price of the 1 kg of the Nirma washing powder as 10 rupees, right. And HUL's product at that time was certainly not available. Sunlight, I can say, was not available for 10 rupees, it was more than 10 rupees at that time. So when people saw that 1 kg of the washing powder is available for 10 rupees, and he started serving the markets in a big way for professionally, people welcomed the product, people came out openly and they supported the product, welcomed the product, and you see today that where now the Nirma is. Nirma is everywhere now, they are into the almost many sectors of the country, and Nirma has become the international company now. Within a short span of time, started in 1982 and today we are here in 2018. So how much? It is say somewhere more than 35 years. In 35 years, look at the size and the growth of the company. So secret of the success of the Nirma is what? That is the cost. That at what cost the product has been developed, say, provided to the people, and how the people's needs have been taken care of. If we are taking care of the market and the people's needs, certainly people respond, and ultimately the success or the failure of any business to a larger extent depends upon the cost of the product you are generating, the price you are going to charge from the people, and the profit you are going to earn out of it. So if you are very, very competitive, if the cost is low, price will certainly be low and you will be accepted by the people in the market. Means there are the different segments. We have the premium segments also, that people sometimes buy the expensive products also, but you have to match then the product with the quality, or the quality of the product with the price. That segment is also there. In India also we have the premium segments. When we buy the cars, we buy the small cars also, we buy medium sized cars also, we buy the bigger cars also, the premium cars also. Segment is there, but large segment in this part of this entire part of this country is of the market of the small cars. That is why when the Maruti came with the small cars for the first time in the beginning of 80s, the success of Maruti was that first time they brought a car in the Indian market just for 40,000 rupees. Maruti 800, that old car, was just for 40,000 rupees in the market. So having a car, enjoying the luxury of a car just for 40,000 rupees means people never had thought about it. But when the Maruti Suzuki joint venture made it possible, people were very happy, people bought the cars, they gave a good response, and today India has become a market which is known a market of the small cars. All companies operating in India, though they were manufacturing bigger and premium segment cars in the other countries' economies. For example, you talk about Honda. Honda is manufacturing different cars for American economy, American market, for their Japanese market, for the European market, but they are manufacturing different cars for India. So small cars have become very popular, one because of the space problem, but the other is because of the cost and the price problem. So means ultimately success or failure of the business to a larger extent depends upon the cost of the product we are manufacturing and the price at which we are passing it on to the people. Success depends upon the sale and the profitability. So if the cost is within the control, price is also within the control of the buyers, our margin is also intact, so it means our growth is also intact. So this is just a foundation about the cost sheet and the importance of the controlling the cost, that if you control the cost, how effective and useful it is for all of us and for all the businesses. And finally, how to control the cost. I have discussed in the previous class also about the cost sheet, and in the next class we will have some hypothetical problems, small and simple problems, where we will learn about how to prepare the cost sheet and how to use that information for the strategic decision making by the management of a company or an organization. This all I will discuss with you in the next class. Thank you very much.